Hello and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity, your recovery-focused podcast with your host, Keegan. In this episode, I speak with Bratton as we talk about her journey with blindness and how she's used grit and gratitude to overcome pain, how taking breaks is actually productive, and how to rebuild identity. So stick around and learn some actionable insights for personal growth. Laura, welcome back. I just got to say, what have you been grateful for since our last conversation?
What I've been grateful for are those small, everyday moments. And as I say that, that sounds cliche, but what I've learned through the gift of gratitude is just those small moments of when you're sick. I'm grateful for the medicine that makes us better. I'm grateful for the food that nourishes us. I'm grateful for that friendship, family support that supports us. So that's what I mean when I say those small moments. Normally it'd be like, oh, I'm just sick. I want to get better soon, which obviously is the case because that was not on my calendar as a type A person. But in that, learning to focus on what I do have, not being grateful for the situation, but being grateful for what I have that helped me to navigate and move forward from the situation.
Okay. What does gratitude have to play in for someone like me that is currently in between jobs?
So to answer that, I want to go back to how gratitude started for me.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and then I'll circle back to answer that because to answer that, I had the same question. Like I'm going blind. Of course I'm not grateful, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not grateful not to be a quote normal teenager. That's all I want is a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So I was asking that same question that you're saying, hey, I'm in this transition. How can I be grateful? It all started through a short conversation with a mentor. And that mentor challenged me to develop a mindset of gratitude. And again, the first time she said this, I'm thinking, I don't want gratitude. I'm not grateful to be blind. I'm not grateful to not be able to drive because obviously I can't see. Like, I'm just not grateful, period. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm grieving. No, thank you. What I realized was she was teaching me not to be grateful for the blindness, rather to be grateful for what helps me navigate in the blindness.
Ah.
So let me give you a real world example from that time, and then I'll jump forward to the question you asked. So she wasn't asking me as a teenager to wake up and say, gosh, this blindness is great. I recommend this to everyone. This is fun, guys. Let's all try it. Rather, she was wanting me to wake up and end my day by saying, I'm grateful for the parents that teach me to live in the present moment rather than being overwhelmed by the fear that shuts me down. I'm grateful for the guide dog that helps me navigate the world. So again, it's not to be grateful for the adversity, for the challenge. It's gratitude in the midst of whatever we're going through in life that helps us refrain our situation. So
Okay.
when you ask the question, how can I be grateful in the middle of the job change, right? Like applying for jobs, looking for jobs. How can I be grateful? Being grateful for that process is not the goal, is not the key. Those little tiny small moments within that process is the gratitude. I'm thankful to learn about this opportunity. Of course, I'm totally making this up. I'm thankful for this opportunity that I learned on LinkedIn. I can apply for this job. I'm thankful that I made it to round 2 in the interview process. I'm thankful that I had support today, brushing up my resume. So again, it's not being grateful for the transition you're in, for the job search, for the process and the stress and the uncertainty that brings. It's being grateful for those small moments that help you navigate through. Does that make sense about the difference?
Yeah, that totally does.
Oh,
go ahead.
I want to also make it clear in your example, which is a perfect example, it's not to say, let me just be grateful to cover up the frustration, the overwhelm, the fear, the uncertainty. It's not gratitude to cover up your emotions or to cover up the severity of the experience. It's
Mm-hmm.
rather to be a source of strength, a source of empowerment as you work through this process.
Mm. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I can definitely relate because that's kind of how I've been trying to kind of have this mindset because
Great.
one one of the things that I have realized and try to be grateful for is that it is giving me time to work on my creative endeavors and learning new skills that I want to apply to a new job. But it's still just like I have that problem of beating myself up for not having those skill sets prior. It's something that is hard to kind of get to grasp with.
So that's I'm glad you said that because it's exactly where I was too. Both truths are true. So you
Mm,
can be grateful to have this time to work on your creative endeavors while still being frustrated. You're having to go through this process. Like you're frustrated, you have the time, right? Because you
yeah.
want a job with a paycheck. So that's what I mean by gratitude does not cover up our frustration. You can hold both at the exact same time. So in
Mm,
the same day, you can feel, gosh, I'm so grateful to have the time for these creative endeavors while also feeling, okay, I'm frustrated that I have this time, right? Like I'd rather just be in a full time job where I don't have this time.
mm-hmm.
So rather than beating yourself up, look at it as both can be true and
Mm.
both are equally as valid.
You're right. They are both valid because if I were to discard one or the other, then it's kind of telling the story that is not all the way true. Or
Right.
it's rather kind of like pushing myself into a corner that I don't need to be in, I guess.
100%. And then that's causing you to spiral down
Yeah.
as you push yourself into that corner.
Uh huh. And here's one of the questions I do have to wonder about for everyone else, because sometimes it's hard to see anything that is what we could be grateful for, even in the moment? So, what would you say to help someone that really feels the ultimate kind of despair where there is no hope?
Been there. When you're in that place, when I've been in that place of total despair, total hopelessness, and I can't think of anything to be grateful for, honestly, it's just taking one breath in 10 seconds at night to say, I survived the day.
Mm,
Like, I'm still here. I'm still alive. Like, I'm great. And literally, I've said this. I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying this cliche. This has been my lived experience. I'm
mm-hmm.
grateful the day's over. I'm grateful my head is hitting the pillow and I can at least try. I don't know because of the anxiety if I'm going to fall asleep, but at least I can try. And
Yeah.
I mean, in those despair moments, when I have a pet, just taking 5 seconds just to pet the dog and just feeling their presence. I'm just grateful for this animal.
Mm,
So, again, for the people in that total despair, that total hopelessness, don't come up with fake gratitude. Oh, it's all going to work. Don't try to fake yourself into gratitude.
mm,
Acknowledge what is that one thing just in one breath you can be grateful for. I'm grateful that I had food today. I'm grateful for was whatever that tiny brush my teeth, take a shower, whatever just that tiny moment is that we don't think is significant. But when we're in despair, it's totally significant and powerful. But the
mm.
major part is when you're in that despair, do not fake the gratitude. And
Oof.
if you go a couple days without naming gratitude, don't beat yourself up. That's okay. The world's gonna keep turning. Like, that's when I say let others hold that gratitude for you.
Hmm. I mean, you hit some really good points there because I know in my recovery and healing journey, I've definitely learned the value of a moment. And I mean, in the addiction, I also know whenever it felt like I couldn't even make it to the next 2 minutes, It was just like the world's super heavy and I just didn't want to keep going. So every breath could sometimes be just a gift, really. And it's one of those things where I don't know where that necessarily comes from, but it's just the will to live, I guess. And consciously, I didn't have it, but somewhere deep inside, I guess I wanted to keep going.
Yes.
And I guess part of me can be grateful for that because without it, I wouldn't be here.
100%. And thank you for saying that, because what you made me think of is our breath. Be grateful that we have our breath.
Mm,
And
yeah.
again, it's not gratitude. Again, I'm glad you're saying this because it made me realize, like, it's not gratitude like you're happy, you're all giddy, you're all like smiles and joyful and bouncing off the walls, and
Mm,
life is all joyful and rainbows. It's just gratitude, like matter of fact. I'm
mm,
grateful to have my breath. It doesn't mean you feel grateful. It's more of an action towards your mindset than a
mm.
warm, fuzzy feeling.
I like that. It's an action towards your mindset. Okay. So let's run with that for just a little bit because you've also said to not fake it. And I think that that's also really powerful because a lot of the self-help stuff, whenever I was in my addiction, it was always like, yeah, like you're not supposed to feel this way, just like bad vibes go away kind of thing. And I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense, kind of, but because it didn't work.
Right.
And so you're saying to not fake that kind of stuff because it's essentially like a white lie or a lie, essentially, right?
100%. Because then you're tricking your brain.
Hmm.
And you can say it cognitively, but then in your gut, in your intuition, you're saying, but I don't feel grateful. I don't feel hope right now. So the
Hmm.
gift is, as you said, like, don't feel the the negative vibes or those, certain vibes. I say, and what I found in my healing is embracing those vibes is what I'm grateful for. Because that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of strength to embrace them. And then when we embrace them, they diminish. They lose their power. So that's what I mean by gratitude is not a feeling like happy, happy.
Hmm.
It's an action of courage and action of strength.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's not happy and it's an action, then it's something that we could be grateful for really just about anything and everything if we really wanted to, right?
100%. Yes, absolutely.
And so here's one of my other questions because you did mention the dog. And how did having a dog help you through the whole journey that you've been through?
That's a whole nother podcast. We could talk for 10 hours on that. Where do you want me to start? Okay, so I'll start at the beginning. So,
Okay.
so for context, I always grew up having a pet dog. So I knew I love dogs, and I realized the benefit of having a pet. That just
Hmm.
always was a source of strength. When I was losing my sight in those first early years in high school, just truly petting our dog at home, like brushing her, taking, just walking around in the backyard, going on small walks for as much as I could see. That was just it, that was my only source of gratitude.
Mm.
So fast forward, I got my first guide dog in between high school and college.
Okay.
And you go to guide dog school for a month to receive the dog.
Mm.
And receiving her and working with her, and then those first months, and definitely the years to come, but those first months, having a service animal, I'm hesitating because I'm trying to come up, it's so deep, I'm trying to come up with the words. My
Uh-huh.
goal, my thinking was this dog is going to support me physically to regain independence. And yes,
Mm.
that's absolutely 100% what happened. That's the point of a guide dog, right?
Yeah.
But what she also did, the reason I was hesitating without words, she allowed me to literally move forward, accepting myself, regaining my confidence.
Mm.
And that
Ooh.
was through her unconditional love and our connection.
Ooh. Okay. I think I see what you're kind of saying there because I was just kind of about to say that dogs don't really judge people.
100%. And that's why I loved her. Yes. It was fun to joke about, but oh, it's so true. Like they don't judge you. And so having that unconditional love that she gave me when I'm still, because at this point, even in college, I'm actively losing sight. So to have her constant presence, it was so healing to me and such a sure source of strength. So yes, that's why I say it could be a whole nother podcast. Because yes, just the power of guide dogs or just animals in general. I can't even put words to.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I guess it would be is really similar to the way that music can affect someone, right? I've heard it be put that
Absolutely.
music is too precise to be put to words. And I always thought that it was so vague, It's
Yeah.
like, but no, it's because it elicits a certain emotion that's really hard to pinpoint, even if you can.
Right. Right. It's
But
hard to put in words. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, real quick, let's hop back to the grit and gratitude train. My thought is that gratitude builds grit, or does grit build gratitude?
Great question. My answer is both.
Ooh,
Through
okay.
and let me explain why.
Okay.
Through my lived experience, I've learned that one builds the other and they perfectly work in tandem. And what I mean by that, let's go back to the example of receiving my first guide dog.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I was so deeply grateful for her. I was so grateful for that unconditional love and that communication that we had to develop. We were forced if we were going to work together as a team and I was going to trust her as my literal eyes.
Huh.
You have to have that level of communication. So yes, I was deeply, deeply grateful, but I couldn't just all the time have that mindset of gratitude. I'm so grateful for this dog. I had to actively choose every day to have the courage, to have the grit to trust her.
Hmm.
And here's a big piece for me. I had to choose to receive her unconditional love. That's hard. Receiving it was harder than her giving it, right? Like, oh, that's cute. She's getting it. That's the gratitude, right? The grit is loving myself enough to receive her love.
Oh, that's beautiful. How did the grit aspect of things come into play too? Because you were talking about being grateful for everything. So grit, was that just kind of instilled by your childhood as well or something?
Yeah, so it was definitely instilled in me to live that moment by moment so that I'm not overwhelmed by the whole of the future.
Mm,
So going back to that example of the guide dog, yes, I'm deeply grateful for her, yet it takes courage and grit to receive her love. And then it also takes grit to implement that love and to say, okay, I choose to have confidence in myself. So that doesn't come from the gratitude, that comes from the grit. And so that's what I mean about one builds on the other. Like they constantly kind of build on each other back and forth. But yet I can't just have the grit all the time of I believe in myself. I'm gonna continue forward. I'm gonna be resilient. I can't just
mm-hmm,
have that all the time. I've got to stop and breathe and accept that gratitude for how I have been resilient.
mm,
So it's this constant relationship in my mind of they both work in tandem.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other thing I want to say is that is a constant work in progress. So I don't want it to come across like, oh, she's got this great gratitude thing figured out and just check that box and move on. Like this is something I live and focus on every day.
Yeah.
And as a powerful coach said to me, Laura, perfection is not the goal. Progress is the goal.
Mm. Ooh. Yeah, that's powerful stuff. I think we do get focused too much on the end point of things, and we do lose sight along the way of what the actual journey is supposed to be
Yes.
about. You had said something about having too much grit and not enough gratitude at points, or what could happen. So, do you think people that just sit there and try to grit their way through everything, is that what you think leads to burnout?
100%. Because in my case, for me, it didn't lead to burnout. Well, it led to burnout, but it led into burnout is absolute overwhelm.
Mm.
So it led me into total overwhelm, which led to despair.
Mm. Okay.
That's not for everyone. I've worked
Mm-hmm.
with people that it leads all different. The burnout looks so different. For
Mm-hmm.
me specifically, yes, the pushing the grit looked like complete overwhelm and also validating my not validating my feelings
Hmm.
looked like burnout because I wasn't acknowledging the pain. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I define grit now as acknowledging that pain and still choosing to move forward.
Mm. Gotcha. And you had said again that embracing the pain or embracing bad feelings kind of make them go away. Was that something that you had to be taught as well, or was that something you just kind of figured out one day?
Yes. So a therapist told me that one day, and I know I looked at her like, you have 10 heads, woman. Like, I didn't believe her. I was like, I am paying to sit on this couch and hear this. Are you kidding me? I was like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. So, only because I'm stubborn, I went home. And the next time I felt anxious, which I'm sure because I was in high school, I'm sure it was that afternoon. I just decided to do what she said. And like, all right, I'm gonna prove this woman wrong. And I turned towards the anxiety. I mean, I still remember the chair I was sitting in my den when she said that, and when I did it, not when she said it, but when I did it, and I was like, oh my gosh, my panic attack is not bad. Oh my gosh, where'd the panic attack go? I was like looking for it. So she had to prompt me, and then just out of my stubbornness, my disbelief, I chose to practice it. And I found it worked. And once
Huh.
I realized it worked, I obviously kept doing it because it served me well. It was a source of strength.
Hmm. Okay. And so was that something that you found yourself being grateful for before you even really knew what you should be grateful for?
Yes, 100%. Because I was deeply grateful. Circling back, just as you were talking about the breath, I'm deeply grateful that I can get my breath, that I'm not in such a deep panic attack that I feel like I can't get my breath. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it made me deeply grateful that just the literal breath was easier to breathe. My heart rate calmed down to a normal beat. It didn't feel like it was about to just pop out of my, my body somehow. Yes, I was deeply grateful for that.
Mm. So, what would you say to someone that thinks that grit is more, or actually rather, it's less than embracing those kind of things, because I spoke with someone not too long ago and we were kind of getting to the conclusion that stubbornness and resilience are kind of the same sides of the coin, but stubbornness means I'm not going to listen to anyone, and resilience means I'm going to listen and adapt as I continue going where I want to go.
And again, yep, you're speaking, you're talking right about me because that was me. I was so stubborn, and it took a mentor saying, "Laura, the energy you use towards being stubborn," and she literally said, "resilient. If you could channel that into being resilient, you would be so much more healthy." And so I totally agree with that. That our stubbornness hurts us. That mentality of just push, 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 be stubborn, don't feel your pain, push through. You'll just somehow have the strength to get through it. That hurts us. But when we stop, acknowledge our pain, and choose to still move forward and adapt and adjust,
Mm-hmm.
we can move forward day by day, moment by moment to the goals that we want to reach in life and just the living every day with more just groundedness and calmness. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, and again, be like I was. If you don't believe us as you're listening to this, prove us wrong. But seeing when you turn towards it, when you
Mm-hmm.
turn towards that anger, when you turn towards that tears, it actually works.
I'm going to have to agree with you. Anyone out there that thinks that it doesn't work, definitely try it. It's really weird. So, Laura, one question I do have though is a lot of us do kind of build an identity off of like what we can perceive, right? And I mean, I can't imagine having lost my sight, especially growing up. So, did you have to rebuild identity at the same time, like after everything happened? Is that kind of where you found the grit and gratitude was like a foundation that you could build on?
100%. And that perfectly circles back to the time that I got my first guide dog. Again, I thought her purpose was just to help me physically navigate the world. What
Hmm.
I didn't realize is through that process, she would help me rebuild my identity.
Hmm.
And again, it was her unconditional love that helped me build that identity. So, practically, what that looked like in my world when I was, still in that lack of confidence, lack of self esteem, thinking, I don't know, am I really worthy? In every conversation I would have with someone, I had to circle back to, well, when I had full sight, blah, blah, blah. Even if it didn't make sense in the conversation, I found a way to just blurt it out. It used to be 2020 because I feel like that made me worthy.
Hmm.
Then I realized, and this is slow over time, it wasn't one major magical moment.
Hmm.
I realized my identity was in my self love, in my self compassion. My
Ooh.
identity was not in, am I a sighted person? Am I a blind person? Am I kind of in between? Because I'm in both. Like, where is my identity? My identity is in the fact that I love myself and that I offer myself that self compassion. And
Hmm.
so, yes, 100%, the grit and the gratitude came from rebuilding that identity. As I was rebuilding the identity, it was like, well, what is my foundation? Like, I literally asked myself that question. And when I stopped and reflected, I realized it was grit and I realized it was gratitude. So, yes, that's how I came up with those two words to literally rebuild my identity. 100%.
Hmm. Okay. I love that. And thank you for sharing that with us because I mean, identity is one of those things that it's super personal that if you even say something slightly wrong to someone about their identity, that's just you might as well have like, I don't know, done something way worse.
Right. And that's I also thank you for saying that because that made me realize that was a huge part of my identity of loving myself and offering that self-compassion because I had to realize some people are going to be blind. Some people are going to be visually impaired. Some people are going to call me legally blind. Some people are going to be disabled. Some people are going to be differently abled. Some people are going to be amazing. Some people are going to ignore my existence. The range of all that reaction is limitless, right? And I experienced all of it and a ton more. So if my identity is built on what I label myself or what others call me, I won't have an identity. It's so wishy washy. So that's why I had to find that identity, that foundation that was based on my perception of myself.
Hmm.
Does that
Oof.
make sense? Not
Yeah.
a direct label, but
Uh-huh.
more of a mindset, a perception of myself.
Yeah, that makes total sense because you spoke on something that resonates with me in my story. Like having to be able to sit there and try to live inside of a cage that other people help me build, but out of their expectations of me. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, but it took way too long for me to realize that every single person I know has a different version of me inside of their heads,
Right.
and there's no way I can try to be every single one of those at once.
Right.
So,
Right. Impossible.
uh-huh. And I mean, you're also speaking to the self-love and self-grace kind of thing because in recovery I've learned that I have to be my own best friend. I have to be able to show myself grace and be able to love myself. But that's something that we don't really get taught in today's world, or at least in Western society for sure, you
We
know?
100% don't get taught it. And honestly, where I learned it from was pure survival.
Mm.
And I don't mean that like, again, cliche. I mean that very literal. In the midst of despair, oh, you're differently abled. Oh, you're amazing. Oh, all these things thrown at me in the span of literally like a day, right? Like a short amount
Mm-hmm.
of time. In that despair, I was, I had to figure out something quickly if I wanted to keep living.
Mm.
And so it was only when I learned that self love, that self compassion, that it worked. It wasn't something that anybody that it really right anybody teaches us. So unfortunately, that's not something we learned. I would wish it was, because it would make my healing process way quicker.
Yeah, yeah, it's something that is even hard to put into practice too, because we're not taught it and we're not really guided in how to even do that.
Right, right, right. It feels selfish, right? Or that
Yeah.
was that your experience? My experience was it felt selfish.
Huh. Yeah. It felt selfish. It felt almost like I was lying at a certain point
Yeah.
too.
Yes. 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 I agree with that.
Just a quick interruption. Just a reminder, leave a like, leave a comment if you haven't already, and hit subscribe so that you can be up to date with the latest episodes as they come out. One of the things that I find really interesting is that your grit mindset is also an action, but the opposite of it that I can think of right off the bat is the hustle culture, like you just got to keep grinding and going and no matter what, but you're able to sit there with the grit and gratitude, able to show yourself that compassion and grace to say, hey, maybe I do need to take a break for a little bit.
Right. 100%. And that taking a break still means we love ourselves and we're moving forward. Taking a break, and I'm saying that because I thought taking a break meant I was weak. Why do you
Mm,
need to take a break? Then you're not doing anything if you're taking a break. I had to learn that taking a break, taking that pause,
mm,
is not a weakness. That taking, and again, a powerful coach said to me, like, your sleep, your rest is productivity, right?
mm,
Like, you're looking at it as a weakness. Again, you're looking at taking a break as a weakness.
mm,
Taking a break is a source of strength. Taking a
mm,
break and breathing and focusing on that gratitude and offering that self love, that's deep respect for ourselves. So it's not a weakness, or
mm.
not progress moving us forward. Does that make sense? Is that how you view a break as a weakness? Or is that just me being type A?
No, no, I was in that mindset ever since I was really little, is like one of the things I remember whenever your parents are like getting home and you hear a key go in the door, like you could be sitting there enjoying your day, and as soon as you know that they're about to get inside the door, you have to look like you're being busy. Like, oh yeah, never mind. I was doing the
Yes.
dishes.
Of course I was folding the laundry, Mom.
Yeah.
I'll
And
sleep in the kitchen right as you pull in the driveway.
yeah. And I mean but yeah, being able to give myself the grace and compassion to be able to take a break was definitely something that I didn't know how to do, because I did view it as a weakness for the longest time. Because if I'm not producing, to me and a lot of other guys out there, if we're not producing something for families or ourselves, we don't have self-worth. You
Right.
know, a lot of our identity is built on what we produce and not necessarily who we are. And
Yes.
so that's hard to learn.
Yes. It comes
So,
across again as that weakness. Like, uh, producing can't be just acknowledging my self love, acknowledging the hard work I have done today.
mhm,
It has to be like that action.
yeah. And so how do you turn a break into an action? Does that make sense?
100%. And that's what I worked with my coach on recently. Again, viewing the break as productivity.
Mm,
And for me specifically, when I say productivity, what I mean is it's part of the healing journey. It's part cultivating a mindset of grit and of gratitude requires those breaks.
mhm,
So once I could look at those breaks, those pauses as progress moving me forward, is when I could look at those breaks as a source of strength, as a source of courage.
Mm-hmm.
That reframed the conversation, because then I thought the breaks meant I'm doing nothing, so that makes me weak.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the breaks of doing nothing is actually self-love and reflection and takes courage to sit in silence, right?
Huh.
Like, then I can view it as progress to move me forward.
Mm.
So again, it's changing. It's like going back about stubborn and resilience, not looking at the breaks as doing nothing meaningless, looking at it as I'm adapting to continue to move forward.
Hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, not
Yep.
viewing the breaks as nothing like wasted time, but
Mm-hmm.
viewing the breaks as productivity in my mindset to love myself, to focus on my breathing, and then to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it worthy.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. And thank you for breaking it down like that, because I think other people out there need to learn to take breaks for themselves, because if we can take care of ourselves, then we can take care of those around us even better.
Right. 100%. Yes.
uh Real quick, I do kind of want to dive down a little bit of a spiritual rabbit hole if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it is kind of weird, right? Because whenever we deal with spirituality, we're dealing with forces that we can't see. And so, how did your relationship change with the divine after you kind of lost your sight? Because, I mean, I now you just can't see. I don't mean to like knock that on there, but it's just one of those things that, do you feel closer to it?
Great question. I'm glad you're asking. Yes. And let me explain why.
Okay.
So, for context, I grew up in the Southeast. So I get that context to say the Bible Belt. So, grew up in a Christian society is like, everybody goes to church, everybody in your neighborhood, is Baptist, Presbyterian, or Methodist. Like, it's a cultural thing, right?
Hmm.
Like, well, then, growing up in the like early mid 90s.
Hmm.
So it's just what we did. Just everybody around you did it. You were in choir when you played sports. It was through your church team, like
Hmm.
just everything. Your life was centered around the church.
Yeah.
Once I became blind, religion for me became the gift of spirituality. And it was no longer a to do list. Let me go to church, check that box. Let me read my Bible X amount of time, check that box. Let me spend 12 hours in prayer, check that box. Let me go on this mission trip. Let me get for 10%, and then I'm going to heaven. Great. This is all good. It was no longer a checklist.
Hmm.
It was no longer do this because it's cool, because everyone else in my neighborhood does it. All the rules, all the regulations, all the religion part faded away. The
Hmm.
gift that I received is spirituality became my connection to the divine. And that connection was just that inner knowing that I am a beloved child of God. And again, God is how you define the beloved, the divine, however you
Hmm.
want to define God.
Uh-huh.
Just the energy, the spirit in the world, the cosmos, however that is for you. I'm a beloved creation.
Hmm.
And that did not come through some magical spiritual moment of like, again, just some like, Thursday at 9 o'clock, like I can't point to a moment, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
reason that I had that inner knowing is because of the people around me and the support around me still believing in me.
Hmm.
As they still believed in me, as that pet I had, like, she just wanted me to feed her kibbles and walk around the block. Like, she didn't care how much sight I had.
Huh.
Just nature, just being in nature, being just in the water, just that connection to nature, to water, to the ocean. they still accepted me, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I felt the divine love and presence through all the daily experiences.
Mm,
And that was an incredible gift and source of connection.
man. That's really cool. And I mean, just thank you for diving into that too, because I it's one of those things that spirituality is super personal. It's it might as well be a second identity for a person, you know. It's super cool that you're able to have that kind of connection, and I think that it just makes your story that much more powerful too. Do you subscribe to the idea that maybe your affliction happened because of a plan of sorts?
No. So my understanding of spiritual, like, I don't view it as like there was this grand plan and then it was put into motion and like this was the plan, like
Yeah.
she's gonna lose her sight for the next 4 years and blah blah blah. Like, I don't think there was a grand plan.
Huh.
What I deeply, deeply believe is, so I'm gonna say two words. One word, compassion, means suffer with,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at the root of that word.
Mm-hmm.
And then the word Emmanuel, the root of that word is God with us. And again, you translate that as divine with, however
Mm-hmm.
you define God.
Yeah.
So I don't view it as it was a grand plan, like, okay, plan B, she goes blind. I view it as the divine God is with me and present in the suffering.
Mm.
I don't have a, and the question that people then always ask me is, well, then why did the divine allow it? I
Mm-hmm.
don't have an answer why, if there's a good divine, a good God, why did you go blind?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an answer for that. What I have an answer for is that divine is with me in the suffering and supporting me every day.
Mm-hmm. I love that answer a whole lot. And I think it's really cool too, because it does kind of elicit that feeling of like in suffering, there's still beauty, you know?
Right. Right, right. And a friend and I were talking about that recently. That's so thrown away. Like, she's in the midst of deep grieving right now. People say, "Oh, but God uses for the good. There's so much good in this," and she's just like, I'm deeply grieving right now." Like, again, that whole circles back to the gratitude. Yes, I'm sure there'll be moments that I'm grateful for as I'm grieving, that there'll be that support and love that sustains me. But no, I'm not grateful that I just lost my child, that my child just died. Like, I'll never be grateful for that. Right.
Yeah.
So she and I were talking about that in the context of exactly what you said. Like, oh, there's beauty in the pain. Again, that minimizes my pain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you close your eyes and try to function in the world every single day. Like, that's really hard. That's really painful.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I don't view it as there was this master plan for me to be some, you know, you forced to overcome it if you want to live. It's just in that suffering, in that difficulty, the divine is with me.
Yeah. They're walking with you. They're able to essentially be with you. And I think that
100%.
yeah, that's just amazing. I mean, I just got huge props to you for even being able to learn how to do that, because I can't imagine what it's like going to a new environment. I would be praying like every step of the way.
Right. Yes. And I am like, hey, people, help me. Like, yeah. And that's where that prayer is action, right?
Huh.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, I got to know my needs and then clearly communicate those needs.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, in this new environment, I'm going to need A, B, and C, and I
Yeah.
have to know what those A, B, C, and R and then clearly communicate it.
You just reminded me of a beautiful little saying that I was taught early in recovery by a person that was teaching us the 12 steps. And he said, prayer without action is just a complaint. And I was like, oh,
Oh, that's really funny. I've never heard that. Prayer without action is just a complaint.
huh.
Can
So,
I use that? Oh, that's great.
yeah, take it with you. I don't think anyone's copyrighted it or anything.
I'll give you credit.
No.
Credit.
Nope.
Oh, I love that. But that's so true, right? We can pray all day long, but if we don't get up and try and do something towards what we're praying about, right?
Yeah.
Like, help yourself.
Yeah. It's a lot like just sitting there and just laying back and going like, oh, I wish I'd win the lottery, and never going to go buy a lottery ticket.
Not going to buy a ticket, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so true. That lottery, that is a perfect example. Love it. I'm glad you said that. That is awesome.
We are getting near the end of this episode, Laura. So real quick, where can people find you again?
So the best place is my website. laurabratton.com has all the resources.
Gotcha. And so they can find your book there and everything too?
Yes. The book, speaking, coaching, connecting. Absolutely. It's all there.
Awesome. I do got to say, I'm super proud of every step that you've taken and everything that you've done for the world, because it's amazing to have this message of grit and gratitude brought about and told in a way that is actionable, in a way that people can sit there and use it for themselves so that they can find their identity if they have to rebuild it, so that they can find a connection to their divine if they need help with it. Because I think the steps that we take for ourselves is also doing something for the divine too, you know?
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. And thank you for saying that, acknowledging that. And also thank you for creating this platform, because you creating the platform to open up this conversation allowed it to happen. So thank you for giving that safe space for us to explore these questions and for others just to be stubborn and not believe us and try it, and hopefully it'll work just like it did for both of us.
I really appreciate that. And I'm going to be forever grateful. And I just got to say, sorry, I got to ask, do you think that we can see you on in the future again after I've put some more of this grit and gratitude into action and land myself a job that's really aligned?
Absolutely, because that would be such a perfect follow-up to again, that real world experience. That's the gift of living. That's the action, right? Yeah. After you've lived into the action, the grit and gratitude, coming back with, hey, well, this didn't work. That worked, oh, wow. I was surprised about this. So yes, yeah. I would absolutely love that, because that's real time, real life stuff. And that's the point of the grit and gratitude.
I love it. Do you got any words that you want to leave the audience with tonight?
So my last words would be, in the midst of major change, in the midst of what you're going through, the job search, in the midst of whatever people are going through, know and trust you are enough.
Okay. Someone is enough. They don't need to do anything else. Yeah. I wish that I had been told that a long time ago.
Me too.
So thank you for letting the audience know that, because I have to agree 100% that everyone is enough in their own right. They don't have to be someone else. They don't have to live up to other people's expectations, and they don't have to perform miracles to get love. With that being said, everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. And as always, you gotta try to love yourself, love others if you can, but you've got to love yourself first. And if you're having problems with your mental health or in a crisis, you can call 988, or you can text 741-741. And this has been Keegan, and this has been Laura, and we will see y'all next time. But until then, much love. Shalom.